Hello everyone, Alex here. Today we're going to talk about artifacts and who the best characters are to use them. So let's go. I haven't made a video in a while for them, and I finished a few, both like tier up and rank. At least those two, Lasso and Chaos Crystal, which are very important. The first two I would rush first, Lasso, then Chaos Crystal. I've also finished all the purple ones, are maxed out at least in rank, and the blue ones you do a lot faster, the blue ones. Still think we don't have enough of them. Also have at least at rank 3, many of them, like all of them pretty much, and this is almost ready to go to rank 5. This will need a little bit more. So those shots are very nice for characters, but it doesn't feel like it adds 15% more damage if you add like damage application, for example. It's less impactful than that. So it's nice because you can use those everywhere, like in main stages, in like league challenges, you can move them around. And I recommend you do when you do something like this, which only requires one team, like an Evil Falls or even team ups if you're not lazy to change them around, to put Chaos Crystal and Lasso on your DPS that you're using on those teams. Almost all the DPS are stronger having one of the two. Tanks can benefit a lot either by this or the healing one, or you may want to play around with one that puts you one turn as invulnerable and adds some fragile. You don't have to use it in a physical damage team, but it's a little bit more a value to add it to a physical damage team like a Wonder Woman, because then you can do also more physical damage or against the SAD. So I'm gonna talk about some characters, or I'm gonna take it from the artifacts perspective, which are the most common or most high value characters to have them on. And again, you move them around. Maybe you have them on some characters that you're using in an arena and elite arena. And when you're doing main sages or evil falls or anything else like a convergence crisis, elite challenges and whatnot, then you move them to the characters that you are currently using in your teams. So a character like Sineso, for example, for me is very often getting the Chaos Crystal. The Lasso is probably the first I would talk about, and I would max out of the Chaos Crystal. Is awesome, and I did do the maximum rank for Chaos Crystal first, because this here the cannot be controlled part is very interesting. That cleanses and you increase the damage application and whatnot. It sounded more interesting to me in PvP, although having done that, the silence are awesome. Usually people have Lasso on Wonder Woman, it kind of makes sense, it's her artifact in real life, but by way of looking at it, like the first skill, it's mostly for early game Wonder Woman when you don't have a lot of crit on her. When you have 89.2% crit, and that doesn't even count the 15% here, you have 100% basically, even if the opponents have some crit resistance on them. Like my Nightwing, for example, has like a 9% crit resistance. If I max this out, he will get a little bit more. You still pretty much guaranteed to crit, even without having her with Zatanna. And extremely often Wonder Woman is run with Zatanna, so the crit part is guaranteed anyways. The silence part, you already put a silence out with Wonder Woman. Some people run her with Green Arrow, and this puts silence to enemies. So again, you may, I don't necessarily recommend to run her with Green Arrow. I don't like this team anymore. It's good for early game maybe, but it's a little bit wasted on her. And since Wonder Woman is countered by some characters like Blue Beetle, and to some degree even like Aquaman, Mera and Peacemaker, and usually now the meta is more high sustain, and she cannot one-shot the opponents with her first ultimate. So only for the like 20% more crit damage and a couple more silences on her first ultimate. It's not necessarily always gonna be on Wonder Woman. I really like it on Ivy, because Ivy can actually one-shot the opponent's back row, and I'm not even using her now with the new Poison team, because they're not out yet. Maybe she's gonna be stronger with more stacks of Poison. I don't know the kits extensively, so maybe we'll see how this plays out, but Ivy can definitely benefit from a guaranteed crit, and then you can have more attack stat on her. You even kinda counter like a Blue Beetle at a patch 30 will do an advanced attack, and if you have Ivy with Zatanna, he could add an exhaustion on her and then waste her first ultimate, so counter her to a massive degree. You could still like reach the second ultimate with her and kill the opponents, but then you're more likely to lose if he does that. So if you have like more attack stat, it's more unlikely for this to happen. I don't know if it's only for this season, because she has more speed stat and she goes first, but the more 6% more attack with a guaranteed crit makes it more likely that you one-shot the opponents. You put silence on two people in the back row, which is generally very nice, because there might be like a couple of DPS that want to do bad things to you. So if you put silence for 2 rounds, that's very, very strong. So I really like it on her. The 20% crit damage is also very, very powerful. You kind of want to rush it there. Many people just use those two primarily for the stats, even if they don't make sense a lot. So you gain like 10% more attack bonus, 15% crit, 15% damage application, 10% HP bonus. Doesn't necessarily like moving those two from tier 3 to 4 didn't increase my score in league challenges, let's say, by 15%, but it did by a lot less. So maybe it's calculated in a way that's not actually broken to give you 15% straight more damage, but it amplifies the damage, yes, and it increases it, and it's nice to consistently have more damage. But many people, as I said, use this on other characters by a big reason because of the extra stats. So you could see that on someone like Sinestro, like Hal, like Superboy. Generally speaking, characters that you are rarely that you would have in some important PvP to use your ultimate first and try to kill someone with it, or do massive damage and then with a second ultimate from a different character kill them. Constantine is very nice. I use it on Constantine when I'm using him in league challenges with Sinestro. In the third league challenge, sometimes I'm using him together, especially in the sacrifice week. And I prefer having the Chaos Crystal then on Sinestro and have the Lasso on Constantine. And the problem with some of those characters that I mentioned is it increases the crit chance and crit damage only for the first strike of an ultimate. So someone like Wonder Woman and Ivy only hit once for 200% and here for 200% again, and Constantine the same for 205. But someone like Sinestro, for example, hits first everyone for 50%, so you waste this effect, quote unquote waste, there. So you only have the smallest part of the damage being a guaranteed crit with extra crit damage, and then you have the second part of the ultimate that doesn't benefit of the ability here. That's my understanding of the skill that it does. Superboy does the same. He hits like with hit 6 times only for the first time. Hal Jordan has a very similar skill. Sometimes I'm using it on him when I don't have Constantine on the third league challenge, just because of the stats again. But I know that the first hit only is there. Or in the second league challenge, I use Chaos Crystal on Batman, and I use I have as a second damage dealer on single target Red Hood, so I put this so he has more stats and in total does more damage, and while Red Hood and Batman both hit multiple times with their ultimates, so it's only for the first hit, that's my understanding. So I don't prefer necessarily to have it on characters that might be important, might even be used in main arena, that's why people have the Lasso usually. Maybe they want to take advantage of the silence, okay, I think it's mostly for the extra stats, and you gain a little bit of an advantage on the first hit, might lead you to kill someone, but I prefer have it on a character that actually goes for the kill, and right now Ivy is the character that's the strongest in my opinion to kill someone with her first ultimate, so you build around that, and when you're doing like a maybe some other content where you don't use Ivy, or even in main stages, it might be best to move it on a different character like Wonder Woman and Constantine. Moving on to Chaos Crystal. Chaos Crystal is also a second awesome artifact. It's a lot more for sustain and doing a lot of damage from round 2 to 4 and being uncontrollable rather than quick burst damage. It's still relatively quick and more damage. In the context of the game, it's 15 turns, it's from the second to the fourth, but it's a little bit more for characters. Sometimes, for example, if you're using Zatanna with a 2 DPS, you might want to have the Lasso on the first that uses his ultimate, and then the Chaos Crystal on the second. It depends on their speed stat. You may have the second ultimate go off with a buff that gives more damage application and gives him the character that wears this more frantic. And then you have some haste that you are doing more basic or advanced attacks and are draining a little bit more. This also gives you a life steal, which is a reason for many characters that use it, while the Lasso gives you straight damage application 10%. That's another small reason that you may want to have it on a character like Sinestro, for example, especially if you use him in the main arena. But Chaos Crystal is more on characters that you want to have a little bit more sustain of. On like Sinestro is a very common use for people, and when I'm using him on a team without like Constantine and Wonder Woman, or I use in Wonder Woman the Lasso, then I use it on Sinestro. Yes, he's awesome, and I use it on Sinestro on League Challenge 3 against Seven Wolf, and he does great with it. Sinestro is in a team that usually doesn't have, sometimes you run Zatanna with them or like a Two-Face and it's not too bad, but usually they don't have massive sustain, they more so are reliant on just Raven reviving some people, maybe a little bit from reinforcements. I don't have this unlocked yet, but I have 7 out of 10, so this is the next I'm unlocking. But you have like the mirror to heal you a little bit, maybe the throne to give you some extra defense, so you survive a little bit longer. So having Sinestro drain a little bit back up, both with the extra 10% life steal that it gives, even 5%, it's nice, and it gives you more life steal here and the damage and haste, so you crit more often, you do more basics and advanced attacks, so you drain back up more, and you have a total of like a 15% plus 10, 25% life steal. Having more of a chance of critting is very, very strong. So then you have Sinestro like surviving that way, maybe your second DPS or whatever you have in the back row dies, and the Raven revives them, and you have everyone kinda healthy. Constantine is also a character that reduces his HP a lot, and is a little bit later to go, doesn't necessarily go for the kill quickly, so to have a little bit more sustain on him while he already reduces his HP and is kinda squishy by his passive, he reduces his HP. Makes sense because then he drops, he can gain like some more buffs by his passive, and then you have him do a lot of damage on the second to fourth turn. Maybe you can squeeze 2 ultimates in there, and you drain back up, you go faster, remove the opponent's buffs and everything. You have a higher chance of critting, so then you can afford having like attack gear on him instead of crit. In my understanding, attack will also make it the recuperates he does to everyone to heal them for a little bit more. So I had it on constantly for a long time and had a Lasso and Zatanna, but and I'm still gonna put it on constantly if I use a team, for example, like a Zatanna, Wonder Woman, Constantine, Red Hood, and Nightwing to go for like a system recovery to clear it in like 5 or 6 turns. Then I'm gonna put it on Constantine. Constantine is not too bad with a Lasso, but he's a little bit more on a team like a block that relies a bit more on sustain and spread up damage rather than a quick kill. It makes a lot of sense. If you have a big Deathstroke, it's awesome on him. He already has like a 5.7% life steal, can even go in at 25 to 9.7, so that's already strong. And you add another like 10% here, he already is very survivable and he goes fast. You add the 15% here where he's a lot closer to dying and give him haste and frantic, he's gonna go fast and drain back up. Very strong. If you have a rank 10, Deathstroke can be a character that he uses that. Characters like Superboy sometimes use it. Hal can be very strong. I hire a mercenary Hal with a Chaos Crystal and he's awesome with that. Now on Wonder Woman, if you have the Lasso on Ivy, Wonder Woman with this kinda can help you. Like for example, this is winning in Elite Arena against like defensively against like against block teams because she cannot get stunned by Nightwing ultimate with that or cleanses that if he does it turn 1 and gives her more lifesteal without having, you can even afford not having Zatanna with her then. She goes fast and she deals more damage from round 2 to 4. So Wonder Woman currently is in Elite Arena. If you're using her seal, is kinda more reliant on killing people on her second ultimate that she does, not on her first. So this helps her survive and reach this faster by giving her all the extra haste. And then you have more damage application on that. You are uncontrollable. So if an opponent's block team relies on having a lot of weakens on you, Wonder Woman doesn't get weakened on her, cleanses that, and doesn't get for 2 turns. So then she can kind of fight back with that. Is very strong even in main arena with that, and any type of content is very strong. I'm using her in main stages with and many times in system recovery with 3 block, and very often with Kid Flash. Sometimes I throw Pandora in there, and in arena Zatanna, but without Zatanna you still have lifesteal to keep her alive that way, so that's strong. I've seen it, one person has this on Dr. Phosphorus. I don't use him, but he was very strong against me in Elite Arena, so that's very interesting because he deals a lot of reflect damage when he gets hit, and he can get a lot of less superpower damage. So it was interesting. It was helping keeping him alive, and people would hit him and they take a lot of damage. And if you go in with superpower damage team, maybe he can out-sustain you. So on a secondary strong character that you want to have more sustain on, or maybe more damage second to fourth turn. As I said, I use it on Batman on the second league challenge, and helps him put out a lot of damage. I've also seen it on Flash sometimes. People have a big Flash and they can work well with them. Then let's go about the Philosopher's Stone. I think I have it pretty much stable on Zatanna, unless I'm doing something like a league challenge where I'm not using her, or Evil Falls, then I'm gonna move it to a different character. Sometimes something like a boss here, but this giving the 10% more speed together with Emblem 30 for Zatanna, that when she does her advanced attack, she will give everyone on her team 20% more action bar. You want her to go first. You have already speed gear on her. You have 10% speed stats. She goes even before an opponent's flash. That is supposedly the fastest character in the game, and his skill, basically what he adds is that he goes first and knockbacks the action bar. So your team goes first, Zatanna counters that directly by going first, and because of the extra speed, and then giving 20% speed bar to your team, it makes almost your whole team go first, use your first ultimate, and you can gain the control. So you don't want to have a disadvantage there. If the opponents have a Zatanna, you want it at least to be a coin flip. And giving like vitality, more energy, and even more speed here with the haze is very, very nice. I've seen people have her ultimate go first, and then they can use a HAL ultimate right after that, turn 1. I haven't tested that. I need only one piece of her, of this artifact. It's the next one I'm gonna max out. But you normally start with 3 energy, and this will give you 1 back. In my math, you have 2 energy. I don't know why HAL can use an ultimate after that, but I want to test that. Maybe you also have the throne or whatnot, and the vitality gives you 1 more energy. I don't know how this plays out exactly, but I've seen that in Elite Arena. It's interesting that you can play around with the extra ultimate point, so that's also very strong. And basically you use then an ultimate on opponent that you may cleanse some defensive buffs they have and put armor break, so you do a little bit more damage on them. Very, very interesting and strong. When I'm not using Zatanna, I will put this on Pandora on the second league challenge, just to have more speed on her, so she does her advanced attack more often, that she gives shields out. And otherwise, maybe I'm gonna put it on someone like Terrific, if I have Terrific on the third league challenge and not Zatanna. Or when there is a block week, I put it on Ocean Master just to give him more stats. He will have like 10% more HP, he will have more speed, he will have more stats from this than the artifact he's currently wearing. So it's probably the strongest for support, but since Zatanna takes uses that the speed better than any other character, with her going first that way and making your team go first, I don't think it's really a question of where else to put it. Besides, like, if you're not using Zatanna, put it on the other support that you have. There's not many great support artifacts anyways, so you will be using that as a support when you're not using Zatanna, maybe on a different character. This is definitely 100% interesting, that it gives you some damage amplification, gives more debuffs. So many people are throwing this on Ocean Master, especially if you want to pair them with block and make with a debuff and make a block debuff hybrid. So then you take advantage of the skill here, which adds more bleed, poison, and frostbite. Doesn't add more stacks of power of fear on Sinestro, but adds more debuff on the battlefield. This is very strong on Raven because she revives and then she's unable to take a turn. So you can have this one or twice per match, negating that after she does her advanced attack. It says after the revival, Raven temporarily loses her strength for one round and is unable to take action. This pops in, and the first time she revives someone, she will normally do her basic right after. She doesn't lose a turn, and she can use her ultimate and do whatever she wants. So This is perfect for Raven because of that. She's guaranteed to have that. Otherwise, if you have it on someone like Ocean Master, you're basically either losing that or just going on a more niche situation where Ocean Master can't get stunned and or freeze, I guess, and he takes a turn. Damage application is definitely nice to have on someone like Ocean Master. I'm not saying no. The extra stats is definitely nice when you do that, so it screams Raven even more for me. On a second account that I had where I didn't have it this unlocked, I put this on Zatanna just to have some extra damage application or whatnot, rather than have random artifacts on it, but I haven't really used it on anyone else besides Raven and Ocean Master. They're both characters that benefit from more attack. Raven is a super important character that can change some matches around in PvP. She's used on the third league challenge and it's extremely important there. Can help you a lot on main stages team with Sinestro. So I kind of feel like I want to have this here and it works perfectly. Otherwise on Ocean Master it kind of negates doesn't take advantage of the skill that you lose the turn as often or as consistently. Yes, you can add a little bit more damage for the counterattacks he does that add one more debuff, but doesn't feel like extremely impactful. Maybe if I try to do like a hybrid with a block and debuff and I'm not using Raven and I'm not lazy to change the artifacts around, I'm gonna put it on Ocean Master. The 10% damage application definitely looks interesting and more stats and whatnot. But personally, since I have Raven used in Elite Arena, an important team, and I use her consistently on other content as well, I just have it on Raven and have some other like a block on Ocean Master that otherwise wouldn't make sense to be on a different character. Then you have this. It's very strong that you have the 30% healing, and when you don't have maxed out the Bane's Venom, which gives you 35% when you have it maxed out, otherwise gives you 20%. It's a bigger heal, so you may want to use it on your main tank in a arena. So when they do their ultimate, it heals them. I don't like having it on a character that uses their ultimate 5th in the match, and I'm a little bit skeptical on the 4th in like PvP because you may not get to use it, you may die. That's why I kind of prefer to have it like a second or third ultimate that goes off, sometimes 4th, but not first because then you just waste it and you don't heal. Usually like second, third is the sweet spot where you will put it on a tank that is gonna use their ultimate somewhere after a couple of turns where they're gonna have lost 30% HP, and then they're gonna heal for that. They might cleanse, gives them a cloak so they're uncontrollable. Then they may drain even, heal more by cleansing the debuffs if it's maxed out. Stereo armor is okay, a nice extra buff. Reflect is also very interesting to have. You can even put it on a character just to. Even like Nightwing, you can argue, like if I'm using Nightwing for system recovery to clear something in 5 turns, the 5% reflect might make a little bit of a difference, and it's nice. The 10% HP, and some people are using the Blue Beetle because it can give you 15% block and it can be very strong. Lex had it for a long time for me when I had replaced Lex with a Bride on Elite Arena when it was a season for anti-heroes. Then a Bride would have it and the healing was very impactful for her. You can have it on someone like Peacemaker, though usually Peacemaker does ult 5th for me, so it's not extremely strong. As I said, Blue Beetle, but Blue Beetle usually I'm having used his ultimate last, although I'm kind of considering making a change to the block team in Elite Arena and have him probably use his ultimate earlier, so it could make a little bit more sense. Aquaman, Penguin in some situations, Bane, and I think Bane is more benefiting from that because it props for more healing for his passive, although I haven't played with Bane too much. I hired him once as a mercenary at a very big level, and he's definitely fun to play with. I kind of prefer having that on a Nightwing, so I'm not really considering Nightwing too much for that. Some people have it on Grodd, but usually I use Grodd's ultimate faster than he can benefit from that a lot, and if I have him on Parademons, I might put Bane's Venom because he won't reach his ultimate anyways, so Bane's Venom might heal him a little bit. Maybe John in some situations, I don't know, I haven't played with John a lot, but I know he survives a lot, so even if you have his ultimate go off later in the match, it will heal him back up because he might still be alive, and having the 5% reflect with all the counterattacks he does can be very nice. The reflect is definitely something to consider when you want to put it on some characters. It's a nice little extra that helps you a little bit with the damage, or to nullify someone like that has lifesteal on their badge. He has like a reflect, so it's closer to 0 the lifesteal that they try to do. And as I said, many people just put it on a tank that they have in arena because it can give you more stats, especially if you bring it to a higher tier. You can put it on someone like a Blue Beetle and have more block and damage reduction and have a big healing, and he will survive then, even if he does his ultimate last very often to heal for the 30%, and might benefit a lot from that. It's a little bit more something you want to use manual many times rather than this can be more defensive and for auto content. The Bench Venom, this can be used in a smart way to heal when you need it. Okay, then you have the Vial. Vial is not super nice because it makes you do damage to your teammates. Then you put it 30 armor, you can gain some hard hit, you can kinda nullify that, gives the character some lifesteal, it gives at least some stats, so that's why people still use it, because and it can give you some extra survivability, although in a way that you also damage a little bit your tanks. So you kinda want to consider putting in a team that's their tanks would be survivable anyways, so they're not getting killed by that, and they're very low on HP and the opponents can kill them off. The stats are definitely nice, so you can still use it on DPS. That when you have other people holding the Lasso and the Chaos Crystal, but you still want to have like attack stat or whatnot and a little bit more survivability with the lifesteal on characters, you can put it on them. Currently have it on Constantine. For a long time I had it on Deathstroke, and it played out very nicely, having the 5.7% lifesteal plus 5% from that worked very nice for me, and was of the few characters that it felt like it complements him rather than does harm his team, especially when you have it small and you don't even have the lifesteal. It's not really a good artifact to put on characters. Better to put the purple ones for DPS rather than one that you will do damage to your teammates. The buffs aren't really super impactful, and I wouldn't rush that. Many people might throw it on it, as I said, on a DPS that you want to have the stats on, but that is not your first priority to have the Chaos Crystal and the Lasso. So Sinesso can be a character like that. Any DPS that you still want to use and get, like I said it on Dr. Fate, and you want to use the lifesteal on, as I said, Deathstroke can be a character that holds that, especially if it's more middle of the road, so you gain some advantage from the stats and whatnot and the extra survivability, but you don't prioritize Chaos Crystal on him. Superman DCU, I've seen it sometimes, I've seen it on Superboy sometimes. I seen it a little bit on Green Arrow. He already has some survivability here, some life steal. He can take advantage of that a little bit more. Yeah, it's more of a secondary artifact for DPS, that if you have like the 10% attack and 15% crit, then it can be nice to have and can amplify a character. And Constantine currently is like in a block team more often, so then they are survivable anyways and won't get hit too much of the damage that he does to them, but the healing he does can help him survive a little bit more. The lifesteal is nice, the extra attack is nice, so I wasn't hurt too bad by removing Chaos Crystal from him, because at least he has a 10% attack, he has some extra survivability here, and the life steal, the 10% life steal could make it more like a positive thing rather than a double-edged sword. And the last epic that we have is the Green Lantern one. Where is it? So this is only for Green Lanterns. For Guy and League Challenge 1, this does wonders, bring it to rank 3 as fast as possible. It's very, very impactful. It states that every shield that he applies will give him 10% damage multiplication. It kinda reads that it will do it once, but every time he hits his enemies, he will put a shield. So he does his advanced attack, and when he kills someone with Baltimore Chop, defeats an enemy when he's at rank 7, I think it starts doing that. He will do it again, so he keeps killing parademons, getting plus 10% damage multiplication. They does massive, insane amount of damage. It's very important. Shield damage resistance is definitely nice. Putting a shield to everyone on your team can be strong, or a nice little extra. Crit rate can definitely be nice on Guy. Besides Guy, and you gain some defensive stats, which at 10% HP can be nice. Besides Guy, Hal can be a character if you don't want to use like a Chaos Crystal or Lasso on Hal. You want to, and you're not using Guy, you may want to have it on Hal. Some people may want to use Jessica. John can use it as well. I don't know how much he will benefit from the crit rate, but defensive stats definitely nice. Then let's talk about this here, because it's very, very nice. Venom, and we don't have many artifacts for tanks, so this can be very important for tanks. The healing that they do passively and they recuperate is very, very strong and can help you like survive in a situation where you wouldn't. You can have some more defensive stats here that can help a tank survive more. Currently have it on Blue Beetle. For a long time I had it on Grodd. Some people have it on Aquaman, Lex very often. Usually Nightwing, as I said, will use Escrima Sticks more often. I guess you can put it to someone like Bright. Anyone that you're using like on PvP that you want them to survive more, or Penguin. If you're using Bane and you're playing around Bane and have a team around him, it can definitely help putting out more stacks of healing, so then he can use his ultimate for free after that. Can help him both with the prop, but my understanding is also with the recuperate, so it can really work for Bane very nicely. The 35%, even 20%, is very strong and can help you really on anyone that you want a little bit more survivability. As I said, like with Grodd, it's a team that doesn't have too much healing and sustain besides Raven Revive. So having Grodd do a little bit healing there can help you win in main stages where you otherwise would have lost. There's many tanks that you may want to use it on. It's very nice that you can use it passively, so you don't have to, you can put it on a character that you have going 5th in the ultimate order, because it doesn't matter. And since I'm using Blue Beetle in main arena and elite arena as a very important character, and main stages, and using his ultimate 5th and don't have this maxed out to give him at least 15% block, I feel like the 8% HP that he gains from this, rather than a different artifact, a blue one that wouldn't, I don't have it graded tier 1. And the extra healing that he does can help him survive. He can, especially at smaller ranks, could be like a detrimental factor that he can die quicker and then the opponents can single down Nightwing, but having him have this extra 35% healing can in some situation help your front row not to be like a weakness that can die. Definitely very nice to have. Let's talk about Escrima Sticks. I almost always have this on Nightwing. Gives a firm stand where you have more block chance after doing your ultimate. So that's on a character that you want to block and having the block team. When triggered, gives 20% damage reduction until the end of the battle. He uses his ultimate relatively quickly for me, like third, something like this. I have him very common use his ultimate, so he will benefit from a 20% damage reduction a little bit more often. And if you have it at max out rank or tier 5, rank 5. It also heals for 20% of max HP. It's a little bit smaller than like this one, less impactful or than this, but can be very strong on someone like Nightwing that's already very beefy. So if you have them use their ultimate somewhere like in the middle or like 4th position, can heal for 20% and can be very nice. Have damage reduction until the end of the battle, can make him more annoying, give firm stand, can help you block more. I don't know if he needs it that much since he already has like close to 100% firm stand, but you also have more stats here like the HP, you could have 12% block chance here and make it a lot stronger. If someone like has a big block break, this can help you survive against them better. I could see like Blue Beetle wearing that. Some people have it on legs, especially early game. It's nice to have like extra block chance on your tanks. Some people might benefit more from that actually than Nightwing. But I don't feel like he's a character that needs the healing. Other characters need more. He's already very beefy, so he doesn't need those two. While he's a character that benefits from block, so it made a lot of sense to have it on him, and the damage reduction can make him very annoying. The healing can be very nice on him. So currently I have it on him. You could argue again like anyone like Peacemaker, Aquaman, Groot, Lex can benefit from having from wearing that. But I also want to have like having him as an arena character and whatnot. I want to have the 8% HP here and all the stuff that he gets and the damage reduction rather than having it on a tank that I'm using less often. Screwdriver Helmet is very strong again, can have like some nice stats. The invulnerable can be very impactful. Fragile, can help you put out more physical damage. So it's a little bit of consideration. You can put it on a character that is you want to survive a bit more on a team that puts out physical damage. So I have it on Peacemaker because it's the only physical damage team or primarily physical damage team that I have on Elite Arena. He's kind of squishy, so having that out on him can help him survive one turn longer, and then you can have his passive prop where you kill someone and you heal himself and his team. I've seen many people have it like on Groot, and if you are running like you want a bit more survivability on your front row in any team, it can make a lot of sense. I was considering putting it like on Blue Beetle and have Wonder Woman with them, so Wonder Woman will benefit from extra fragile, but it wasn't necessarily the best option to pair Wonder Woman with them by my testing and my roster position so far. Lex could wear it. Any tank can definitely benefit a lot from that. Sinestro is kind of a character that in Elite Arena will try to kill the opponent's front row with his ultimate, and you can survive with that and get a few more hits in. You may not benefit 100% from the fragile if you have like on a team, like a superpower damage team. But the invulnerable actually could be something that you can lean more into and might be best on some other characters depending on your situation. Didn't mention original Superman because I don't have him, but okay, original Superman gets invulnerable by himself, but he can wear all of them. He can wear like this very commonly, or this one here and have some extra healing, and invulnerable if you want to be weird and have him say vulnerable for 2-3 turns. He already does that, like the original Superman on the DCU, because he's not a tank, as a tag here. Aquaman again can be a character that can wear it and take more advance. I haven't played too much with Aquaman to be 100% sure if his passive props from himself. I think it does. That he puts people under, where is it? Under invulnerable. It states for allies, but I think he does also for himself when he is under 50%. He drops under 40%. If it doesn't, it might be more important to have it on Aquaman because he already does some physical damage. He doesn't really do damage, but his attacks are physical. So if he doesn't prop, I might. I guess I want to test more Aquaman. It might make a little bit more sense to put it on him if you have him in an important team. So at least he's protected by vulnerable. Otherwise, it's overkill to have it. Like already puts in vulnerable. Do you need to have two invulnerable? Aquaman gets so many vulnerables by everyone dropping under 40%. Aquaman also gives it to himself already. Also haven't mentioned Swamp Thing in the video, but Swamp Thing might be a character that you may want to survive a bit more, and he's a front row tank. So you may want to put it on him or like Bright. It would be best probably to take advantage of Fragile to put in a team that does physical damage, but the invulnerable could definitely be something that you can lean into other characters as well. Then we have the Canary Cry Bomb. Canary Cry Bomb is definitely one of the best support artifacts. We don't have too many. Gives you some stats. Gives you some like damage, healing, or shield for the first ultimate. I was having it for a while on Kid Flash, especially when I was relying on him a lot more for like elitary and main stages than now. But I think I use him especially in main stages to have a very big first impactful heal. After you start unlocking the next one, like stun and reduce ultimate cost, I think you want to lean more on that. Terrific is definitely an important character that uses a very important elite arena team, and he's also important in the second main sages team. So I have it on him since I tried it on Pandora for a while. Wasn't really getting really better results that I needed that than the one giving her heal seal crit rate, and I think she's one of the very few characters that can actually benefit from heal seal crit rate besides like Bane. So I put this back on her and wanted to have a little bit of a stronger Justice Gang team. So that played the factor that I have like 8% more HP, I will have one stun, I will have a decreased ultimate, so one more ultimate going off a little bit faster. I don't think I've perfectly utilized that artifact. You can use it in a way like some people, for example, have like Zatanna and Grodd that use their ultimate back to back in a Sinestro debuff like Elite Arena comp, and because it costs one ultimate less, they can both use their ultimate. So you could try to do something like it, or Terrific and Grodd actually can be like on even second turn, where you get 4 ultimate energy, you use a Terrific, he gets like a one ultimate, the first ultimate is free, it's cheaper. It's not like he has 3 ultimate costs, because I was thinking that would be for a max it out. All your ultimates will cost 2, or your first will cost 3, but all of the rest will cost 2. No, only the first costs 1 cheaper, and then the rest cost normally 3. So you can have like Terrific and Groot ulting back to back because of the cheaper ultimate cost. So maybe I need to have like a Zatanna on the team, so you can have like two people with two ultimate cost going back to back their ultimates because of this artifact on turn 2. I haven't properly utilized that part. Definitely kind of plays a role. Okay, you have one more ultimate energy at some point, like turn 4 or whatever. You might have one more ultimate going off because you then will have the extra ultimate energy to do that. It's not completely wasted. I just saying I haven't like used it in a way where I can utilize one more ultimate. Can definitely maybe some people theorize a bit more with that. I just kind of wanted to have a stronger Terrific team, so I have more, like one more stun, do a little bit more damage, not too bad for the first ultimate, because I felt like with Pandora I didn't really need that. You already have like a stun in the team with Nightwing, so you don't necessarily need an extra stun. The healing would be big enough anyways for the first ultimate, so you don't need the 25%. I don't know, maybe I'm not utilizing this perfectly. Then you have Megarot. It's kind of the opposite of a Lasso in a way, like used for different type of characters, that when an ultimate hits multiple times, this actually gets more damage done only if your ultimate hits many times. So if you have it on a character that your ultimate hits once, characters like Wonder Woman, Ivy, and Constantine, that might be better for the Lasso. They don't get any advantage of that. So it's for the second ultimate that you are doing, and only for the second. It will deal more damage, will have more damage application, defense penetration for every hit. So if you have characters that hit many times with their ultimate, like Superboy, you take advantage of that. Like he hits 6 times. So from the second ultimate, and you want to have it on a character that uses their ultimate relatively quicker in a match. So you have first, like your DPS, the most important that you take into account are the Lasso and the Chaos Crystal. This you do a little bit more for stats and a little bit for survivability. This is like a secondary that you do for damage that you may want to utilize in main stages and Elite Arena. So where you are using many teams, you also can have a little bit of extra stats here. That's definitely nice. So then the later attack from the second ultimate, like someone that uses the ultimate the first 3 turns, fourth or second, preferably. Otherwise, you won't really reach a second ultimate. Superboy is second in my ultimate order. I have other characters that I prioritize the more important epic artifacts. So I thought, okay, let's have the second ultimate be killing people and doing more damage application and defense penetration. I had it for a long time on Sinestro, but since I'm not using Sinestro on Elite Arena, I currently don't have it on him, and I'm moving more often, like if I'm using Sinestro alone in a game mode that only requires 5 characters, I'm more often gonna put Chaos Crystal on him anyways, that's more stronger. But Sinestro would benefit, at least his ultimate hits twice, so the second hit would benefit from part of what's happening here, like the extra 15% or 25, not the whole 50, and not the defense penetration, but you benefit somewhat by having this on Sinestro. Other characters, as I said, Superboy hits many times. This does nothing on Deathstroke because his ultimate doesn't do any damage, so it's wasted. Or his ultimate gives you action bar and then you do your basic, so it doesn't count for any extra damage. But characters like Hal hit your ultimate many times, Batman, Red Hood, Sinestro, as I said, to a smaller degree. Robin, he hits his ultimate, actually hits many times, so you can take advantage of that. I think he does. hits both enemy, then it hits the middle, and then it hits the back row, so it hits 3 times. Yeah, Judo Master. Yeah. So this is kind of like yeah, for characters that don't benefit properly from the first Lasso. It benefits for the extra hits. Since it's like a purple one that gives you less stats, it's not something to prioritize their tier, because instead of like 8% HP attack and a crit and then damage amplification, this cannot give you damage amplification. It also gives you 8, 8 and 12, so it's not one of the first that you're gonna rush, but definitely something that can help you put out a little bit more damage in some situations. Like you can have it on Red Hood and have a Lasso on Zatanna and a Chaos Crystal on a Constantine, and have a team that you want to kill Team System recover in 5 turns, and have a Red Hood die and revive and use one more ultimate. So with one ultimate cost, you can also take advantage of this ability. Otherwise, I just have it on Superboy. It's a character I'm kinda relying on to do a lot of damage, but it's not a character I would prioritize the other two, so currently have it on Superboy. Otherwise, you can use like a Riscan on your DPS, and Riscan is for characters that you are a bit more likely to kill someone with, and that you want to have a stronger basic, because and maybe the action bar in some situations. So this can be an extra nice different skill that you can throw on any DPS or early game when you don't have the epic unlocked. That's nice. I have it currently on Superman DCU, because the way he kind of plays out is you do an ultimate and does a massive damage to a tank, so you might kill someone, then you can give him action bar and 35% more basic attack. His basic is already doing more damage on tanks, so then it can kind of try to kill more tanks with that. Since I have his ultimate going off like 4th or 5th, it's not like the optimal solution. He's not necessarily taking massive advantage of that. He doesn't utilize it very often. A character that perfectly does is Deathstroke, so if you don't want to have Chaos Crystal on Deathstroke, you want to have it on other characters. But Deathstroke I'm not using Elite Arena, that's why I don't have it on him. I might put it on him for like main sages. And put like a simple like defense or what, not only Superman DCU. He doesn't really properly takes perfect advantage of that. Thus he's used more often in PvP, especially in Elite Arena, so I rather have this on him than sitting on Deathstroke and being used once every week or so when I'm doing like some main sages attacks. I'm rather move it around, so because Deathstroke already gets a lot of action bar, and all his attacks are basic. The only damage he does, his ultimate, just makes his basic use all attacks together, and when he does an ultimate he gains 40% action bar, or 30 or 35, so then he does many basics, and all the damage he does is by basics. He gets action bar a lot, as I said, by the start when doing an ultimate. So he's a character that goes fast and does a lot of ultimate and does a lot of basic attacks to deal damage. He is very likely to get kills even with his blitz, if not with the many basics that he does. So you can play with that to use his ultimate, especially when you play it manually. So you use his ultimate at the correct time to kill someone. He gains 50% action bar or 60. And then all his basic from that point onward deal 35% more damage, and you can gain another 60% action bar after that. Can definitely work with Deathstroke. Trying that on practice, especially when I didn't have it at rank 5, because I haven't used it too often with rank 5 on Deathstroke, that he actually takes advantage of it twice. That's definitely a very nice extra. I kind of felt like in main sages, if you were to utilize that, you would already have determined that you are probably gonna win. If you're gonna clear someone from the front row, the way the team I used played out, usually at the point at the match where he would start doing 35% more basic attack, it would be a little bit less impactful. More than half the match will already be done, and definitely he's a character that benefits from that a lot, but it wasn't like super game changing having that on him. Especially when you have it a little bit, when you have him a little bit smaller, you might find that the extra sustain that he gets here, like lifesteal, the extra healing that he does here, and even like the extra stats, a little bit more HP that he gains, some situations can be stronger. People I see have this on Superboy, and it's definitely a character that can get some kills by counter-attacking a lot, so then he can get some action bar and do more basic attack. If this affects his counter attacks, that it should, I can see why people have it on Superboy. Maybe I try this out. Otherwise, I see it like on many people had it early game on Green Arrow as a third DPS, because you had a team with like Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, and Constantine, and they had like a Lasso and a Chaos Crystal. So you had this as a third that could be on a character that gets some kills, gain more action bar, do a little bit more basic damage. Is a nice little extra. You gain some extra stats for a secondary tank that you're using. Secondary DPS, sorry. As I said, there are many other skills that you can use for cards that hit many times, that you want some extra sustain and you don't mind hitting your teammates a little bit, and you want more stats. I've also seen this canon Sinestro many times. I don't know why, maybe like at least you're gonna get the benefit from a skill, like you get more action bar because he's a character that would get kills, and then you have some more basic damage. It's kind of meh, okay, because with many characters you're also doing a lot of advanced attacks. So how often are you gonna do your basic, especially characters that aren't very fast and aren't relying on basic damage a lot? At least he kind of feels like he can get a kill on a tank. Then he can do basics that do more damage to tanks and be a factor on taking out tanks. Although I never really like gotten a massive advantage on having risk cannon on characters. Although I had this for a long time on Red Hood. I also had him in the main arena for a while, but even in Elite Arena, because he... the way he plays out, he dies and then he comes back with a very strong ultimate for free, hitting the people that have hit him. If usually Wonder Woman at this point will have done a couple of ultimates, so they will be low, and he's doing a lot of damage anyways, like Red Hood. So then you would have, and has a lot of crit and whatnot, so, and crit damage. So then you have a Red Hood very likely getting a kill with his ultimate, and at the point where this is happening, everyone is kinda low. It's you're losing, but because you can kill someone with your ultimate, you kinda turn it around. You kinda bring it to like a 4v4 or 3v4 again. The action bar plus the extra basic damage might make you lap and take one more turn and kill a different opponent with a basic. So that kind of felt nice. Now kind of feel like at least the second part, and if you can get a kill, okay, yes, you trigger the second part, but at least the second part wasn't triggering a lot, and the crit team is kinda at the brink of replacement for me. So I just kinda put this here to have, because I don't really care too much about the extra HP on him, but he that works as a tank, I kinda want to have the extra 8% HP that I have here, and I kinda felt like lately Red Hood is not getting as many kills anymore, so I tried that here for the extra 8% HP. I might use Superman DCU on more game modes, especially main sages. So having this here, like Red Hood, I'm never using on main sages, so it's kind of wasted to have it on him sitting only for Elite Arena. But yeah, so I have it to have it here on a character that I'm using more often and might get even played in main arena. Kind of felt better for me. But as far as how many months I used it on Red Hood in Elite Arena, there were definitely many situations where he was getting the action bar, and because of the action bar and the extra basic attack, you would win. So what's the and he played an important role on a Elite Arena team that was complementing the damage for Wonder Woman. It could help you like flip the match around, so it definitely worked very, very nice for me there. Besides that, I'm gonna quickly go through other like that I might have, like HP, any tank that you want more HP and that you're using, or defensive character that you have to want to have more sustain on, that there is not one that you want to prioritize the other ones on. So that can be nice, or that you're not using very often. For example, Growth I don't have currently in any Elite Arena team, so at least I have this here. If I'm kinda lazy to swap artifacts around to do main stages, at least I have this on him, and he might do nice with extra HP. Heal, Shield Crit, very few characters benefit from this, so you may want to have it on a character like Pandora or Bane, as I said, maybe Kid Flash, because at least you can take advantage of that, and they give you a little bit more extra stats, so it's all of the blue ones are okay, let's use it on some other characters, better than nothing. And maybe when I use, like, for example, like I have this, I don't really care to have defense on him. I just have a random artifact, you have a little bit of stats, so when I'm gonna use the Chaos Crystal on him, at least Wonder Woman, when she's on defense in Elite Arena, will have some extra stats here rather than having nothing on her. So at least I put this those like this, so then you can have something on characters that you're using in some situations as a placeholder. Block can this can actually be very nice on characters like Blue Beetle or Ocean Master can benefit from that a lot because you have the team synergy and whatnot. So at least you can take more advantage. The 12% block rate can really help you in a team like this. Otherwise, it's not really strong, but you can throw it on any tanks and have more stats and the chance of blocking. It's not too bad. Defense, many times I have this like on a Superman DCU, but on any tank that you want some extra defensive stats, maybe you have on one HP and on one defense. Probably would prioritize HP a little bit more on a character that I want to survive more. Armor piercing, any DPS that you don't have any, the other artifacts are taken that are lower on priority list. So currently I have it on a Red Hood, at least to have something, to have a little bit of offensive boost for Elite Arena when I'm using it. Crit can be used in a crit team, and because many times I was using like a Two-Face with in a crit team in Elite Arena, I have it on him, so when he does a little bit more damage, you can get advantage of the extra superpower resistance that when your team crits happens, having him part of a crit team, even with his basics and advanced attacks, to get a little bit more advanced damage out of that and stats. Can be used early game when you don't have others unlocked on someone like Wonder Woman and Red Hood and Green Arrow, anyone you want to have a little bit more attack on, but more secondary, and like the tier talents then stop a lot faster for those, so I would be very late to do that, but 6% HP is not too bad for 50 cost, it's nice. Attack, many times you can use it besides DPS, like on supports like it's Flash, because all his healing is based on attack, so at least he heals for a little bit more every time. And those are it. Bye for now, guys.